skin sometimes. It's not all good news all the time.
No, there's good news though.
Oh, I like good news. But a bit of both, right?
Yeah. I have a question for you.
No, what do you got?
What is your favorite sports team?
Oh, Vancouver Canucks.
All right.
For
So
sure.
you started with the tough questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're setting me up here. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm pretty excited. The hockey season's starting. I think it's this Thursday, right?
Yeah. No, actually,
Tuesday?
second. Yeah.
Okay, we were arguing. Ed and I were arguing in the car.
October 2nd.
Is it, who are they playing? San Jose?
Yeah.
Okay. Are they gonna be any good this year?
Huh?
Are they gonna be good?
They
Or
hope
not?
so.
Yeah. What do you think?
I'm not a fan of them, but you.
What do you think?
I think so.
Do you think they'll be fine?
Yeah.
I'm hoping. It'll be painful. It's a long season if they're not any good.
Yeah.
You're Flames, like local Flames or Calgary Flames?
Calgary one.
Oh.
I was heard Heat. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the Heat, I'll give you the Heat. I totally understand the Heat. But, okay. See, where I come from, Vancouver Island, those are fighting words.
Oh, great.
That's okay.
Are you?
As long as we beat you every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another question.
Okay.
What type of music do you listen to?
Well, I have daughters, so I mostly listen to like pop music because they get to choose.
Okay.
So we listen to lots of, you ever heard of a band called One Direction?
Yeah.
Yeah, I listen to lots of One Direction.
One hit wonders.
Yeah, we'll see. But if I get to choose the music, I like listening to things like, Jack Johnson.
All right.
And,
I've heard of them.
and I like Bruno Mars.
All right.
Yeah.
I've heard of them before.
And then I like old stuff too, like the old Bryan Adams.
All right.
That's what I like.
cool. And then another question.
Okay.
How do you plan to keep self-happy?
Oh,
Set you up.
we go with the question.
No. How do you keep self-happy informed and included work on your ministry, with your ministry?
Right. Well, I've only been minister for 4 months, right? So I still have lots of learning to do myself. But I've been pretty lucky. I actually, in my community, I have a guy named Mike McClellan,
Yeah.
who, even before I was Minister of Social Development, Social Innovation, was a regular visitor in my office and sometimes brings friends of his in as well. And so, it's really important, I think, to have that opportunity to have conversations. And it's like meeting individuals like yourself. We were in Chilliwack earlier. We were up in Campbell River on Thursday. And so I really want to make sure, as a minister, I get out there and I'm talking to self-advocates. And actually today in Chilliwack, there was a really good group of questions that came from not from parents, not from people who are working in the sector, but they're the self-advocates themselves. And I think they tell a really good story about successes and challenges. And those are the people I want to talk to.
That's good.
So I want to make sure I'm out there talking to the self-advocates.
That's good to hear.
And you guys have conferences on a regular basis.
Yeah. Through this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once a year we go discuss all these things.
And so hopefully I'll be invited to those, and
Oh, for sure.
when I can make it, I'm able to attend.
Actually, we can invite you on the 14th annual.
Uh, yeah.
That Thanksgiving weekend if you're.
Is it on the weekend?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's that Friday before Friday, Saturday.
I don't know
Yeah.
if my schedule included that so far or not, but we'll do that.
I can send you to.
By all means, please do.
Well,
I'll give you a card before I go.
Yeah.
What else you got?
And then one last question you might hope you can answer.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, many service providers, I think all of us, are wondering, under pressure to pay the new 3%
Cooperative gains.
higher wages. But your ministry is not funding it, and we're all concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And we, like when you look at it, if you take, it's hard because if you agree to it, we don't, like there's two issues, there's issues, but if you agreed to it, wouldn't you have to follow it? Like kind of, because if you take 3% away from agencies, like us,
Mm-hmm.
who wouldn't serve the benefit, because what you're trying to do is help people, but you want to, at the same time, the people that work in these agencies, they do a hell of a lot of good work.
They do.
Wonderful work. They help out people even sick and ill. They're in and out of the houses.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who are suffering, and then they hear this, and say, "Here we go again."
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's nowhere to cut it.
Well, I think we're not talking about cutting. We're talking about looking for savings within. And so there's three groups that are looking. So my ministry, which is social development, we're looking internally. CLBC, right? The organization that oversees all the contract organizations, they're looking internally. And we're also asking the organizations who provide services to see if they can find some savings. If they're struggling, we've asked them to go and talk to CLBC And it's really important that they do that, because it's one thing to say, you know what, we can't do it. It's another thing to say, we've tried, we've looked for help, we haven't been able to find savings, but we're waiting to see organizations. If you know an organization that's struggling, and I know there's no extra money in the system, but if they have a challenge, they need to reach out back to CLBC and say, can you help us? And CLBC is willing to do that, and they're still waiting for people to come forward and ask this question. But I think people should be concerned, but we don't want to see services cut. But we know it's a challenge, but there's not a lot of extra money right now. And when there is an organization that says we need help, and CLBC says, you know what, we looked at it, we can't do it, then I want to hear about that. That hasn't happened yet. But I've been talking to Mr. Willard, who is the executive director for CLBC, and we make sure that that conversation is always going on. So if you hear anybody from an organization having struggles, tell them to make sure they're contacting CLBC.
Okay.
But I understand that they are concerned, and I want to make sure services aren't cut.
There's two different stories. One said 3%, that's a cut. You might not give them to them, but it's a 3% cut on all these agencies. But that's what the message is out there right now.
Well, and also to a cut means less money. There's no less money going.
Like
We're
you're not putting
money.
it in it, but because you don't, but they're telling you they're cutting it at the other end.
We're looking for savings inside, but we're not looking to cut money. But good question, and I know people are concerned about it, and I'm concerned about it too. And I don't want to see services get compromised. So, you know what, you sucked me in, didn't you? You started off with the easy, what's your favorite band, and then all of a sudden you go straight to the good stuff. You should start off with the tough questions, because you come back to the easy ones at the end, with big dessert at the end of the interview. You're probably going to ask me what kind of stuff I put in my hair.
Yeah, that's fine. It's glowy.
Don, we have one more issue that's somewhat unique to our agency.
Yeah.
We work with a lot of folks who are seen as quite challenging, folks who have both mental health issues and have learning disabilities. But more and more recently, we're working with young folks who are addicted. Some have grown up in families where they're addicted, others have that from their youth.
Right.
And the challenge for all of us, I think, is to find services that will support them. So if they go into regular addiction services, they usually don't make it
through the health authorities in general, right?
And at this point, that's one of the challenges, is to try to find some support for those folks through the typical systems is really difficult. I think in this particular region, they've seen that, where we're working with, in fact, the receptionist today is a young woman that was on the streets at 11 and is doing fine at this point. We've included a few videos of some of the folks. We've done a recent presentation. In fact, at a recent presentation at a gentle teaching conference, we focused on the whole shift from group homes to smaller homes and the benefits of that.
Yes.
I think CLBC's been talking about that for a long time. We're now telling colleagues that, in fact, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
So we've included that PowerPoint in those videos. But the issue remains that how do we solve this kind of dilemma of how do you get service for these folks? We've looked at the possibility of doing something ourselves. Is there a possibility of some smaller treatment center? All of those issues we're just struggling with our colleagues in this region, and Jay's been struggling with it as well, trying to meet the folks from the health authority to see what we can possibly do. But the folks, like everyone else, are not going to get better alone. They're really going to need some service in order to make that happen. And some